Good morning. Welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. I'm redoing this video. The other day I did this video, and I don't have a script. This hat's a mess. I don't have a script. I don't do scripts. I just kind of talk as I go. So I guess it's kind of like a podcast, and it's okay if you treat it like a podcast because you don't have to look at my ugly mug. But I can describe how I look. I've got this kind of graying hair, a little red under my nose, kind of a mustache looking thing. Big honking nose, and for some reason one nostril seems to pop up on this camera really good versus the other. My nose isn't crooked, it's just the way it is. Oh, and I'm wearing a Ranger baling twine. Ranger baling twine by Armando Alvarez. I am not sponsored by them, but I've used the twine and I like it. So you can check out Ranger baling twine on Armando Alvarez's website. Order some. It'll come in. And I'm drinking Secretagog. So, with that crap out of the way, hopefully my youngest son does not wake up and come out crying like he did the other day, which ruined the whole entire video, and I mean ruined it. Just destroyed it, cocked over the whole program, and I'm looking for something that I can't seem to find, but it doesn't even matter. So here we go. We're going to talk about a lot of things here. I'd love to have my wife up here. Hey, wife, would you like to come up and join this thing? No. Okay, so we're going to talk about seed corn, seed beans, fertilizer prices, input costs, steel, increases in equipment costs, and elevated parts lists that seem to be getting so out of control that you just can't maintain your equipment without half going broke or wanting to buy newer equipment because, you know, by the time you're said and done with it. And we're going to talk about a walking floor trailer. Yes, I'm in the process of purchasing a walking floor trailer after months and months of looking for a walking floor trailer. The best walking floor trailer that I found was out in Ohio. It was a refurbished trash hauler trailer, and we'll talk about that first just because. Trash hauler trailer, they wanted $40,000 for it. It was on eBay. Looks to me like they buy these things, roached out junk, and then they rebuild them. So you can get a roached out walking floor trailer for about scrap price for aluminum, which is going to be somewhere between, I don't know, $10,000 and $20,000. That's what I've seen. Found one here the other day. It was a $7,000 trailer with a brand new floor in it. I was shocked. I'm like, wow, this trailer was from like the mid-1980s. It was only a 40-foot trailer, and it had a brand new floor in it, but the undercarriage was just rotted away. They got DOT'd and put out of service with this trailer, and they're trying to sell it for $7,000, and I just don't have the time to be welding cross members and dealing with other people's problems. Found one up here in New York, same thing, $20,000 trailer, decent floor, roached out underneath, just rotted garbage, you know, and that's what I've seen. Basically, you're buying a piece of scrap aluminum that you have to completely refurbish, and you can put upwards of 30 grand into one of these things if you really if it's that bad. I wouldn't suggest buying a walking floor trailer that's over 2 or 3 years old. I've looked at plenty of them, and a 5-year-old walking floor trailer, the slats are worn down to the point where you can barely see the ridges in them anymore, depending on what they've used them for. For the most part, you're going to spend somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000 for a trailer with worn slats. The undercarriage will be fine, the brakes will be okay, the tires will be shot, the hoses will be all cracked and having maybe issues with them later on, and you're spending this huge dollar amount for a trailer that you're going to have to put some major money into in coming year or so. So I looked at one here the other day, and they says, oh, it's in fair shape, $45,000. Like, all right, $45,000. Well, I looked at the slats, and they had gaps in them, you know, so they had been running something that was abrasive and just chewed the sides of the slats up. And it's over $10,000 to have those slats and floor replaced in those things. And that doesn't include leaky hydraulic cylinders, valves, or hoses, or anything like that. So if you pay $45,000, and you got to put $10,000 to $12,000 into it. plus new tires, which you're talking another $3,000 for cheap tires. And, you're looking at 50 some $1,000. So yesterday I went out and I looked at a brandy spanking new one. Got a decent price on it. I felt was more than fair. I know that with a 15-year-old trailer, I would be within $10,000 of this brand spanking new one that has a lot of good features on it. And I will show you what that is when I pick it up. It could be as soon as today or as late as tomorrow. Hopefully before tomorrow, but that's just the plan. But anyway, so why am I buying a walking floor trailer? Well, there's a reason for that. There's always a rather calculated reason why I would buy a walking floor trailer over, say, a dump trailer. You can buy a dump trailer and they're less maintenance, a lot more dangerous to operate than what I would be purchasing it for. I know several people that have dumped over trucks and destroyed the truck and the trailer, twisting frames, just making a mess out of it with a dump trailer. Now, if you're hauling, say, corn, soybeans, or wheat, or any other grain, a dump trailer will suit you just fine. But when you start putting sticky, wet stuff like spent substrate or lime, which I will be purchasing and using around the farm, around the 3,000 some odd acres that I have, I will be hauling a lot of that, plus corn and possibly soybeans, no wheat. I'm not growing wheat again anytime soon. I may, you never know, but I doubt it. I just don't think that I would, not that I couldn't grow wheat. It's like, I just don't really want to. It's too much in the summertime. I used to grow rye, and rye was really profitable for me. And if I was going to grow anything, it would be rye again. I really enjoyed that. You got to love what you're growing. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to seed costs. Seed costs are up about 15% over last year. If you haven't locked in your seed price last fall, or even before, I guess last fall, we would consider December last fall. I locked in my seed price, and I have to get that bill paid. I don't have to pay it until I pick it up, and that's a $20,000 seed corn bill. Not bad. It's enough to do about 320 to 350 acres of corn, depending on my population. I'm going to stick with the same population that I had because it was quite profitable for me to do it that way. I am going to do a couple of things differently. But yeah, so seed corn, if you didn't lock in on your seed corn, man, hold on to your ass cheeks because it's going to be expensive. Fertilizer. I did not fill my tanks last fall, and I should have, because the lowest price of nitrogen was last fall around October, November, and it started to really creep up since then. And right now, the cost of 32% liquid nitrogen or uran solution, which I use 32%. I don't like 28 or 26% solution or 30%. You can get either one. I believe you can get 28% and 28% or 32%. I don't know if you can get 30%. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know what the difference is? Water. Lots and lots of water. So, and I've told this story before years ago when I used to purchase my fertilizer from a place up the road here. It was called CPS, Crop Production Services. I needed liquid nitrogen I needed liquid nitrogen. I needed to finish up my hay that I was spraying. And it was about the time that my ex-wife had left. And I had my L8000 with a tank on it. And I would go up to the fertilizer plant, pump 1,500 gallons into this tank, and then drive it home and spray it out because they could not get me a semi-load of nitrogen. And I really don't think I needed a semi-load. I don't remember. I really don't remember. It's been almost 20 years ago now. But I pumped 1,500 gallons out, and it had plastic tanks at that time, big ones, tall, not really wide, but tall plastic tanks, and they were enough to hold like 3 semi-loads. And in the top of this tank was a water hose that was running into this tank. I was like, is that water on? I'm like, oh yeah, we get it in 32%, and we cut it down to 28%. I was like, okay. So what am I getting here? I'm like, oh, you're getting 26%, 28%. I was like, okay. Well, I left, I sprayed out my 1,500 gallons, and I come back, and that water is still running. And now it's even higher. Well, you got to agitate that, you know. It's not like you put the water in the top and it mysteriously mixes. And anyway, I was like, I don't want to take it out of that tank. You guys are putting an awful lot of water in there. Oh, well, we got to add so many thousand gallons in order to make that 32%, 26%. I was like, yeah, but I already took 1,500 gallons out and you're damn near full again. Like, oh, no, that's fine, that's fine. Think about this here. So I pulled out of the bottom of the tank because this stuff is heavy. It's an 11.1 gallon, I think it's 11.1 pound gallon for 32%. And it's 28, well, whatever, it is. It's heavy. Water is lighter, so it's going to kind of be like oil. Everything that's on the top is going to be water. So I pulled another 1,500 gallons out of there without them agitating, so I know damn well I probably did get some water in the suction side of it. It may have sucked it down, I don't know. I do know that it burnt the ever-loving shit out of the hay, and that's when I discovered that 32% nitrogen doesn't burn, but 28 certainly does. So there is basically a hydrogenation or a gasification of the hydrogen gas that comes off of this stuff because there is a positive and a negative charged molecule in liquid urine. And the reason that I know this is because the positive charge is the ammonium nitrate, and the negative charge is the urea that is added to make this liquid urine. They add water because if you put ammonium nitrate in with urea, it will turn into the consistency of snot before it solidifies into a block. And you really have to add that water pretty quickly when you mix those together, which will bring the average. You know, you got, God, I forget what the hell ammonium nitrate is. 36, 30, 38 is ammonium nitrate, the nitrogen per unit per 100 pounds, and I know urea is 46. So you add the water and you come to a solution of 32%. And if you want to cut it even farther down to like 28 or 26%, I've seen 26% past too. That burns it even worse. But yeah, you really just don't. I don't want water in my damn fertilizer because now I'm gonna have to put more down, literally more water, more fertilizer to get the same number of units of nitrogen on. So I can't go as far. If I'm putting 22 gallons of 32% on, I'm at that 70 some units of nitrogen on my hay, and that's where I want to be. If you get down to 26, and then you've got that issue. But anyways, these guys, after 3 tank loads, we're talking 4,500 gallons of fertilizer. They still had water running in the top of that tank, and they had cut, and that was CPS, and they cut that down to, I don't even know what the hell it was, but that was the last fertilizer I ever bought off of them at their plant because I don't deal with shenanigans like that. I mean, that was just, water's cheap. Water's cheap. And these poor farmers, that didn't know what was going on, they got fertilizer and wondered why their crop was burned to shit and then didn't green up right. So anyways, if there's water being pumped into your fertilizer, it doesn't make it any. You just lose your fertilizer. You're just putting down irrigation. So anyway, so the price of fertilizer now, nitrogen, last year was $232 a ton. That's what I was quoted when I bought it, and it went down, it went down, and then it went back up again, and then down again, and so we averaged 230 something. The fertilizer today, or what I bought 4 loads here the other day, $365 a ton, right? $365 a ton. These are 25-ton loads. $365 per ton. It's gotten damned expensive. Everything else is going up as well. You can thank the Russians. The new resident in the White House is not he's just an old bag of dead skin with puppet strings attached to him, and he's being controlled by God knows who, whether it's Soros or somebody else. It doesn't even matter. He's not going to be tough on China. He's not going to be tough on Russia. He's not. You know what he's going to do? He's going to bend over, and they're going to insert whatever they want right up his ass. At least Donald Trump. You know, I mean, a lot of people hated Donald Trump because of his tweets. Well, I don't give a shit what he types out on a computer. It doesn't mean anything. It's just no better or different than a troll out here that's disrespecting me here. You take it for what it is. Words on a screen. Does it mean anything? Oh, well, his etiquette sucks. Well, it doesn't matter. At least when it came down to having America's best interest at heart, Donald Trump was there. He was there. He did okay. We did just fine. Pricing was normalizing. We didn't have record high grain prices, but we certainly didn't have record high fertilizer prices either. So when Joe Biden was supposedly when Joe Biden took up residence in the White House, that's when all these other countries are like, that guy's a pushover, and he is going to be a pushover. He is. He's more interested in getting transsexuals into office and gays to take up positions, claiming that he's the first. Well, whoopity-doo! We don't give a damn if you're gay, straight, trans, whatever the hell, LBGTQRSPTSBT. I don't give a shit what letters you want to put in front of your description. How's this sound? Why don't you get the best person for the job that you're appointing them to? That's what I care about. I don't care what they do in their bedroom. I don't care what they do on their time off. What I care about is what they do when they're in the seat that they hold and what they're doing for the American people, farmers, and everybody else in between. But that's not what this administration's about. This administration is just, you know what? I can't even discuss what this administration's about, but you know what? Everybody's like, well, we got the highest pay under Biden. We're going to have the highest grain price under Biden. Highest fuel price, highest fertilizer price, highest equipment cost, highest parts cost, highest, taxes. Wait for that one, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to get $1,400. Yeah, and they're going to take $5,000 out of your taxes. 9% of that $1.9 trillion goes to the American people. The rest, wait for it, it goes down a rat hole. Somebody else gets it. Oh yeah, we won't even talk about it. So we're done with that one. Anyway, so seed corn. We could talk about seed corn. When I started growing corn, seed corn was like $45 a bag. $45 a bag for seed corn. They were 80,000 kernel bags. Still at that time, soybeans were sold by the bushel. In about the late 80s, that's when the majority of them switched to a 50-pound soybean bag, and then you had sized beans. So there was like, they wanted to do it like corn. So many kernels or so many seeds per bag of soybean seed. And then it's like, okay, so we're just going to go to a 50-pound bag. And then you were supposed, so a 50-pound bag, if your seed is large, you're getting less seed. If a seed is big, or if a seed is small, then you're getting more seeds. Okay. Hold on one second. My sister. I'll talk to her later. Yeah, so it just, soybean seed is a lot different to gauge than a corn. You know, unless you have belt meters or even the sponge meters. I think it's there's several different companies now, or one company that's using a sponge to singulate their seed, and apparently that works really well. Zimmerman sells that thing. I forget what the name of it is. So, anyways, if you're using belt singulation or even your seed corn, if you're planting with a corn planter, and you put your seed cups in there, they singulate the seed, and then you can adjust your population so many, like 220 to 260,000 seeds to the acre, which is fine. But a 50-pound bag or a unit price, you could be getting as much as 220,000 seeds per 50 pounds, or you could be getting 260,000 seeds per 50 pounds. I remember when they went to this, my neighbor, he was like, 50 pounds to the acre is all they're recommending. I'm like, man, we put 1.5 bushels. And, and that's what we did, 1.5 bushels. I've planted as much as 3 bushels to the acre of soybean seed. And believe me, that worked out really, really well for combating deer problems. Now, we had insect issues then. Never had white mold. I know a lot of people out in the Midwest, they had white mold issues, and they don't do 7.5-inch spacings. They do 15 or wider. If I did 15-inch spacings, the deer would just walk right down those 15-inch rows and pop them off quicker than lightning. And that just isn't good for me. And also a bushel of seed beans. I'll never forget, we went down to a meeting and they gave us the seed charts, how much it was going to cost and the different varieties. And my dad was like, $18 a bushel. I was like, wow, that's like $18 a bag, a 50-pound bag. It wasn't even a bushel, you're 10 pounds short. He says, $18 a bag. How the hell are we going to make any money on that? Well, you're only to put 50 pounds per acre. We did. First year we did that, 50 pounds to the acre. It was pathetic. And I'll never forget, I think it was Funk's G brand soybean seed that we had planted, and my dad and I went up, and another neighbor, the neighbor that was also all thrilled about 50 pounds to the acre, we went up to the test plot up here at Rutgers Extension Snyder Research Farm, and that guy was genuinely shaking in his boots because my dad's a pretty good-sized guy. I was young. I mean, we're talking 89, 88, 89, 90 in that area. So I was like a junior, sophomore, junior, senior in high school. And the two other guys, they were really big boys. They were slightly overweight, but you wouldn't want them to get a hold of you because they were strong. The seed representative was really scared because the yields were nothing. We were used to 40, 50, 60 bushel to the acre yields here, and that's no joke. I mean, that's what we had. And then they went down to like 25, 30, and 25 or 30 bushels to the acre. It was pathetic. I mean, just ridiculously pathetic. Yeah. I mean, I've pulled 80, 90 bushels to the acre in soybeans. I really have. It's not that difficult. You have to feed it, and the pH has to be right, and the food has to be there for that bean, and they'll come in like corn. I mean, it's crazy how fast soybeans will come into a bin with a 20-foot header or a 25-foot header now that I've got. And yeah, it's like, wow. But we had an issue. We planted it on time. Fertilizer was there. Everything was there, and we got a frost, and the leaves had dropped, right? We got a frost, and the top 6 or 8 inches of the plant broke off in a frost. Broke off because the leaves had fallen off, but the stalk was still green, and that frost killed that, and at one of those nodes, it just snapped off, and all the top part of the plant was laying on the ground. Well, how do you get that up? You don't. We tried raking it. Oh, it was a knuckin' fight mare. And yeah, so that was Funk's G brand. We never bought it again, and that was it. Yeah, nobody did. And Funk's is gone. Funk's G. Yeah, it was Funk's G. American Cyanamid or Ciba-Geigy? I think it was Ciba-Geigy. Yeah, so NK was what we used then, and we're still technically using NK because I believe NK is Syngenta. I'm using the Golden Harvest variety. That's what I'm using. But yeah, anyways, the fertilizer, 2 fertilizer plants that I talked to, or 2 fertilizer suppliers that I talked to, they're both like, man, if you don't have this locked in, you're going to be paying some pretty pennies. I didn't have the money to lock it in. I just didn't, and I wasn't really paying that close of attention to it because we've never had a fluctuation like this. I mean, this is serious. Well, I can't say we never had a fluctuation. During the Obama years, potash went to $800 a ton, and nitrogen did get to like $330. And I remember $330 a ton. I was like, holy shit, how am I going to make any money on this? But we survived, We just didn't buy any iron or anything. And that'll bring me full circle to the walking floor trailer. So why am I buying a walking floor trailer? I need lime, and I need spent compost from the mushroom barns. I did not get the deal that I got years ago where they would bring a load of spent up and take bales back because enough people got figured out the benefit of this fertilizer or substrate deal, and they didn't need to haul it to me anymore. So that's why I didn't get it. And I was offered one of their walking floors, and I didn't take it because they wanted $45,000 for a 53-foot, I think it was 53, it might have been a 48-foot, 96-inch. It wasn't even 102 inches, which blew my mind. It's like, how can you do that? That was dumb, but whatever. They did what they did, but they wanted $45,000, but the floor was trashed. I don't know whether they were dropping boulders into this thing or what they were doing, but the front part of the walking floor, there's a plate that goes in there. They had lost the plate out of it, and there was these gaping holes, so when they would start to push, it would open up and anything would fall out over the tandems of the tractor. It made a mess. And I was like, well, they're like, oh, well, you just have to replace those slats. I'm like, I just have to replace those slats, and looking at 10 grand, $10,000 to replace those slats. Well, buddy, I'm not doing that. Or it was actually a little bit more. It was a Keith walking floor, and that floor did not have the heavy-duty plates that were welded on the very ends of these slats. I don't know if you know anything about walking floors or live floors. The best floor that I would buy if I could, but I can't because of the big bales, it would be a scrolling trailer. And what that is just 2 hydraulic rollers, rolls it off, and then you wind it back up. But there's the edge where the scroll is concave like this, and there's only like 85 inches of belt in the middle. So the edges of the bales wouldn't come out. It wouldn't work. So I decided against a scroll trailer, plus it would be $120,000 that I'm not going to spend. No way am I spending $120,000. No way. So I said, hell with that. I'm just going to get a live floor. Now there's several different types of walking floors. You can have the refuse trailers, which are well over $100,000, and you can get what you call a chip trailer. And there's 2 different grades of chip trailer. I got the northeast grade of chip trailer, which is the heavier trailer. And I'll go over that when I get it. I'll put it on my One Lonely Farmer channel. So that's just, neither here nor there. I don't know if I am going to be getting it anytime. I'm hoping very soon. But I just need to do that. So anyway, what else was I going to talk about? What did I say I was going to talk about? Grain pricing. I don't know. I'm thinking about selling 10,000 bushels for October and another 10,000 bushels of corn for November. I'm not quite ready to do that yet because the price keeps increasing, and it will do that over the course of the planting season. And then once they get about halfway through planting season, which is a 2-week window, for the most part anymore. It used to be a month and a half, but it's a 2-week window in the Midwest. Once the Midwest gets halfway done, that's pretty much going to dictate what happens with the markets. So watch yourselves in the next month and a half. And if you're going to be selling any, or you're going to be contracting any corn, go ahead and do that. I know a lot of guys like to do about 50% of their grain before or right around now. It's February, March, April. You get into April and things start getting a little volatile there. But, at least when I was growing corn and soybeans and wheat years ago, I had pre-sold 13,000 bushels of soybeans, and we had a hailstorm go through. And that hailstorm followed every single field I had. Just destroyed it. I had nothing. Called the insurance company, and they're like, well, you're going to have to weigh every one of these bushels. I got 3,000 bushels out of the 13,000 bushels, right? And I had a contract to fill for Purdue. Purdue freaks out, right? Well, the contract that I had was a pie-in-the-sky number. It was an offer. And when they realized that And you can do that. At least you used to be able to. I don't know if you can anymore. But you'd make an offer like, oh, okay, hey, I'm going to have 13,000 bushels or 20,000 bushels of soybeans. What I want to do is this is the price that I want. And it was just some ridiculous number. The soybeans were selling for like $4.30 a bushel. I put an offer in for like $6.30 a bushel, right? They realized they were going to be short on soybeans, and guess what? They accepted my offer. And I'm like, I don't have to worry about that contract because the contract, the offer was so off the wall that I didn't even think that they would even consider it. Well, they did, and then they tried to sue me for the difference between what they had to buy their beans for and what they had offered me, which didn't make any sense. It's like, what? What the hell is wrong with you people? Anyways, whatever. The matter turned into, I don't know, $38,000 or some damn thing. And the funny thing was that the offer was made. It was accepted by Purdue. And then when they sent me the contract, you're supposed to sign the contracts and send them back because that's how that worked with the offer. You had to sign the contract. Well, some hotshot lawyer out of New York City calls me up freaking out on me. You know, you're a worthless piece of shit. You stole from that company. I didn't steal nothing from that company. I said, I never even signed the contract. And he's like, you have a signed contract. I've got the paperwork right here. I'm like, don't lie to me. I may just be a farmer, but I know what the hell I did. And that was pretty much the end of it. And yeah, so that was the end of it. And let's see. I forget what the hell the other thing was. It was like 3 years after the fact that this lawyer was after me. Well, they hadn't done anything for 2 years, and technically, it was a mute subject. Whatever. I never dealt with Purdue after that because it just left a salty taste in my mouth, and I just never had to deal with them anymore. If you don't have the grain, what are you supposed to do? Go buy the grain and then sell the grain? I could have. I'd have still made money. But 3 years after that, $6.35 that I had offered my beans were over $8, and that's where they were after me over that, the difference between the $6.30 and the $8 and some, because I never filled the contract. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. This contract is 2 years old or 3 years old or whatever, how many years old, and it just isn't, just get smart people. So anyhow, yeah. Now, what else was I going to talk about? That spent compost is getting to be like gold. And fortunate, not unfortunately, but fortunately enough for me is I'm a vendor at these places. So I get the spent reasonably priced, whereas anybody else that's coming in, they're not getting it for the same rate. They got to pay more, which is okay. You know, I'm okay with that. I hope they honor what they told me they were going to do. Which I think they will. It's not going to be terrible, but so that's just the deal. I need at least 60 semi-loads or 60 times 25 tons. 6 times 25 is what, 1,250 tons, approximately 1,250 tons of this stuff. Yeah, that's a serious amount of shit. I'm gonna put it on. It comes out of the barns pretty dry, which is nice. But then you gotta, you know, it's dry and fluffy. So, but the nice thing is that after the planting season, I will continue to bring this stuff home and stockpile it for this coming year. And my procrastination is probably going to cost me a little bit because, you know, NP and K that I got to put on and sulfur that I got to put on the fields for my corn has risen as well, astronomical amounts. And if you're a farmer and you're hearing me and you don't know about this fertilizer price, pull your heads out of your asses. If you got any money left over, you know, from the harvest or fall or 2020's corn crop, soybean crop, sell that shit, get your fertilizer purchased, and be done with it. You know, lock that price in because it's going to get a whole lot more expensive. Yeah. So, fair weather farmers, be warned. There's a lot of fair weather farmers out there. Trust me. I know where there's 2 of them right now that are going to be puckering up their asses because they just spent a shit ton of money on brandy spanking new equipment, and They're still going to have to put in, and they like to sell hay for like $3.50 a bale. Well, $3.50 a bale hay just went to $7.50. Because it's going to be a whole lot more expensive. But anyways, 35 minutes to be yammering on is more than enough. William's still asleep, and he was sick the other day, and really grumpy and cranky and just not a happy camper, and he's still getting over that. In the middle of the night, he crawled into bed with us, and me and my wife, you know, I'm a lot bigger than she is, but we have a queen-size bed, and there's enough room for the little shit to get in between. But no, he has to put his head on me and his feet on her. We were an H in the bed, until finally I reached around, grabbed his stinking little feet, and pushed his little head back up into the spot, and that's it. And he cried because he did not want to do that. He'll put an arm over me and a leg over her. He just needs to feel his mommy and daddy. And what a pain in the ass that is. So, yeah. And that's that. What else was I going to talk about? I guess I could talk about my balers. I had some really cool, some really cool. Let me go to this. Let me go to this video here. That I did the other day. Let's go to my channel because we just love my channel. We're going to shut that down. Ooh, it loaded up. Yeah, I actually did post what was, the wrong hammer. That cracked me up, you know. Everybody's after me for what I do. You know, it's like, you're doing that wrong. You shouldn't use that hammer. You're using the wrong chisel. You're using the wrong punch. How dare you set a bearing like that? My good God. If I had $1 for every complaint that I've gotten about the way I do stuff on here, I'd probably be able to retire and move to my house in the Philippines and just say, fuck all to the rest of this shit until things normalize. God, where is this thing? Back in the shop. That's the video I'm looking for. And I want to read this because it's just, there's a couple of them I want to read. The first one, and this guy just annoyed the shit out of me because two things. And I'm going to explain myself just a tiny little bit here as to why I was short-tempered in the video and maybe came across as a little bit of a dickhead, but they knew what was wrong. So, Mr. Mike Thorntunner 1, he writes to me, and I have to read these because it's laughable as to how people think. One of these days, Tim's going to rock you right in the face the way you treat him, and you won't be getting back up. Fucking learn some respect. Tim certainly didn't learn it from you. Now, actually, Tim does know what respect is, and he doesn't respect much. Sometimes he is a little bit of a belligerent ass, but you know what? That's life. I know what my son is, and I know how he is, and I know sometimes I can be a bit of a dick to him, but I don't show when he's a dick to me, because the last time I did that, I got all kinds of hate mail towards Tim, and I don't think he deserves that either. So I told this guy to get a life, and he comes back at me. He's like, ain't even man enough to know you're wrong. Not shocked one bit. That's why I haven't watched you in years. Well, go away. I didn't miss you. I used to always, but you ain't no man. Might as well call yourself a liberal the way you act. It makes more and more sense because I remembered you'd post videos after getting flustered by someone on here, and you'd upload bitching like a little schoolgirl. I mean, really, get your head out of your ass. It would do you some good, and more importantly, do the country some good. Do the country some good. I'm head of the country now, baby. So I asked him, I said, so what did I do wrong? You know, simple question. Show some respect on his name. Be a gentleman. The kid wants to learn. Yes, look, he's 20. He'll be 27 years old in a month. Yeah, he's learned a lot. He just doesn't care. There's a lot of things he doesn't care about. He doesn't care to listen, and he doesn't care to listen, and he doesn't care to listen. And that's why I said, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I told you to get. Anyway, I'll read this one. He may be an adult. He's still learning like a kid. You know that, for Christ's sakes, And the more you teach him, the less he can fuck up and the less you got to do. He's 27 years old. He spent his entire life with me. If he hasn't figured it out by now, he's got problems. He does know what is right and wrong and what I ask and what should be done. But Timothy will take a simple thing. Let's put it this way. As simple as possible. Tim, I need you to pump the oil from this drum into that container so we can burn it in the heater. It's 55 gallons. You can pump it out. I got their hand crank pump. You just do this. It takes you 10 minutes and blah, blah, blah. You're done. No. He has to make a pump. He has to get some electronic bullshit and find fucked up hoses that don't even take oil, that harden with, just a nightmare. Take a day to design and build something, which is fine if we had that kind of time. We don't have that kind of time. And then it's just a fucked up muddy mess anyway because the oil shoots out just trust me, this happened. It's me speaking from experience. He could make a simple job look like sending the man to the moon. That's exactly how he is. And it's fine. It's my son and I understand it. I just have to get a little bit ugly with him and say, hey, listen, quit wasting my goddamn time and do what I told you to do the way I told you to do it because I don't have time for you to fiddle around with this stupidity. You know, if you want to do it on your own time, you can do that. Oh, whatever. In the end, bet your old man still teaches you new tricks like a kid. No, not really. Farming has changed so much in the time that my dad was running the show till today. Yes, there are some old things that I was taught when I was Tim's age and younger. But when I was Tim's age, I started really taking over the reins of the farm. Really did. The field work and all that stuff. Had my own grain, had my own hay, had my own equipment, had my own stuff. And yeah, suggestions are great. You can take them and leave them. And that's just the way it is. So I got sick and tired of this guy. I said to him, so how's this sound? You go back to the Rainbows and Unicorns channel. We only allow men on this channel. It's clear to me you can't handle real life. And don't worry, Tim will be okay. And I'm sure you will come back at me with some stuff like you're going to be a lonely old man because I'm an insensitive prick. Well, I said, save it for someone that cares about your opinions. And you know what? I'm shocked. I thought he was going to come back with fuck you or something like that. And I actually have a little bit of respect for Mike Thorntunner 1, because he learned to shut the fuck up. This is my channel. If I want to talk about something and if I want to post what I want to post, I'm going to. You have a very tiny voice in a much larger picture. I'm the talking head on these channels, not you. You can post your shit, and you can talk smack, and you can think you know something that you actually don't know. And then, guess what? The talking head is going to come back at you and tell you you're a fucking idiot, and leave it at that. He couldn't, but he did. And I'm actually kind of proud of the guy. He probably doesn't even watch my channel anymore for years, or he just keeps his mouth shut and sits there, he's torturing them boys. I can't believe it. Anyway, that's it. That's it for that one. And the other one, I'm looking for that one. Okay, here it is. Taylor Jennings. This one. Taylor Jennings, he's pretty good. There were two replies. I don't know what happened to that one. Taylor Jennings writes, those crones are junk. You wore them out, and now you're just mad that you didn't make enough money to buy new ones. You should just drive them over a cliff. Really? Unbelievable, Taylor Jennings. Unbelievable. Honestly, they're far from worn out. I will tell you when they're worn out. They're worn out when you start having gearbox failures, when you're having holes in the sides of your bale chambers, when the knife where you fasten your knife is bowed, where the packer forks are worn down to the point where you have to replace them. They're worn out when it is no longer financially beneficial to repair and replace the worn parts. Okay? So that is the definition of worn out. When a piece of equipment is no longer financially beneficial to repair and replace parts rather than to purchase a brand new one. The great thing about Crohn's is everything's replaceable on them, and easily replaceable on them. A lot of the other manufacturers do not have replaceable floors. They don't have replaceable sides. They don't have. There's a lot of the little bullets that go in the front there where the needles come up through. They're technically not replaceable because they're welded in. So for the most part, when you purchase a Krone, even those weldments that you have to torch out, they're 100% purchasable. A lot of those parts are considered frame related, and the only on the other models of or the other makes of Baler, and you cannot purchase frame related parts unless the frame is being replaced. So when you're working with a Krone, and I've talked to a lot of people over these things, it's like, what is a realistic number as to where these gearboxes really start to fail and I have major issues? They're like, well, if you don't change the oil in them and you don't, if you just run that oil forever and ever, amen, throughout the entire life of that machine, you may make it to 100,000 bales. But if you change the oil on schedule, which is about 15 to 20,000 bales, you change that oil, use quality synthetic oil in them. That's what they require, synthetic gear lube, and keep it clean. You can easily go far beyond 100,000 bales if you do those things. Well, a lot of people don't. They just run them like they stole them, and then they get to 40, 50,000 bales, and it's hammered dog shit. It's just a wreck, and they got to throw them away. And I have some parts and pieces that are being replaced now that should have been replaced probably a year. Let's put it this way: at 30,000 bales. There's a VFS issue that I have to deal with that needs to be done. It's no big deal. It's two bearings on the derailleur and the VFS, that derails the stuffer fork, that particular one that needs to be replaced. Those bearings do wear, they fail, and when they fail, then they cause big problems. Well, they're at that point, and I have to do that, and that's next on the list of things to do. And this is the older Baler. It's got 52,000 bales on it. Is it going to be expensive? No, it's not going to be expensive. It's, a few $100 and the time to do it and the learning experience. And by the time I make 5 or 6 videos about how to do this and post them online and help lots of people that own Krone balers to do the maintenance that needs to be done, and they can do it by themselves versus having the dealer come out and do it and save them lots of money, then yeah, that's a great thing. So they're far from worn out. They're broken in. They're running just fine. The little bit of issues that I have had, negligible. Yes, I spent $16,000 worth of money in parts for 2 balers, 2 Krone balers, $15,000. And well, a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's a ton of money. Well, let's see. No, let's see. We put probably somewhere around, on this older baler, we put about 12,000 bales through it. And because it is the older baler, it is taking a little bit more than what the second baler is going to take by, probably $2,000 to $3,000 more worth of parts to go into the older baler, which was expected. The newer baler, it's going to be like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of bits and pieces to do, and we had 11,000 or 12,000 bales. Let's just say 12,000 bales. 12,000 bales through each baler this year. It's more than 12,000 bales through each baler this year. So we're looking at, I think we did close to 30,000 bales between those 2 balers. I think that's where we were. Anyway, yeah, 25,000 bales between the 2 balers. $15,000 in bits and pieces, and it's still less than $1 a bale. And there's a lot of parts that I bought that are going into the stock, into my parts inventory so that when I'm going this coming year, I don't have to make a phone call, get overnight deliveries, and spend more money. So probably $2,000 out of that $15,000 went into stocked parts. So when it's all said and done, it's probably like 50 cents a bale went into these parts. That's about right. I mean, even the rotor for the pickup rotor, I bought an extra one. It's $1,700. So $1,700 part is in stock. Oh, hell yeah. There's probably close to $3,000 in stocked parts between springs and bushings and other things that knotter bits and pieces that I bought. There's some bearings and some other follower stuff. Just a lot of stuff. So we're looking at somewhere in these balers, probably 50 cents or less per bale. Well, let's see. Yeah, in parts. It's not even. So I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, these are the most expensive balers these are the most expensive balers ever made. Yeah, they are. I'll agree with that. They are. But the difference is, when you're maintaining these balers, you're putting that stuff in there, I guarantee you, unless there's a catastrophic failure with a gearbox someplace, which I don't anticipate, but I will start my year in June. Maybe May, late May, June. I'm going to start my year. I know that these balers are going to make it all the way to November, December without any major breakdowns because I've done the work. I know with other manufacturers, New Holland, I know I've seen other people with the John Deere. I'm not going to mention names. They have issues going from one crop to the other. I have no issues going from one crop to the next. It's just set it, forget it. It's a Ronco grill. Go to work. I don't have to take pieces out. I don't have to add stuff to make them do this because of that and the other thing. It's a Krone baler. It goes. Now, I did have to spend about $3,000 on the mag drill and parts to repair a worn part that is really odd because nobody knows why this happened. As silly as that is, nobody knows why it did what it did, but it did it. And I've repaired it. So, that's it. So anyways, 52 minutes of me drinking my secretagogue, chewing on a piece of skin that I ripped off my finger, and talking about seed corn, seed beans, fertilizer costs, marketing skills. I don't know how your marketing skills are. I know I probably am right there right now about ready to pull the trigger on October, November corn. I need to, if I do October, November corn, I need to sell at least 20,000 bushels easily. That way I'll have cash flow to bring me through the harvest and pay off some of these little debts and stuff that need to be done, broken parts, broken pieces, combine repair, and all this other stuff. So, and that's fine. I should have no problem with that. I just sold 8,000 bushels of corn, picked up at the farm, $5.89 a bushel, picked up at the farm. You can't beat that because we got to go an hour to the west to deliver this corn, no matter what. The highest paying place is out on the other side of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. We're looking at 2.5 hours out. 2.5 hours out. Well, 2.5 hours out is a lot of fuel and a lot of time. My father's calling me, so I'm going to end this now. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching, and I hope you didn't watch my ugly face and you just listened to this. Bye-bye.